What happens when you break away from everything you've ever known? When you walk away from an ancient legacy, from a title that's been passed down for centuries, and choose to forge your own path? For Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this wasn't just a choice. It was a battle that would change the course of their lives forever. But the true cost of this decision was something no one could have predicted. The silence that surrounded the royal family for years was finally broken. But was this silence a sign of peace, or was it the calm before the storm? Today, we're uncovering the truth behind the royal family's decision to strip Harry and Meghan's children of their royal titles, and how this final decision has shattered the bond between them and the crown. Stay tuned, because what you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about the British monarchy. For years, the royal family had been living with the unspoken tension of uncertainty. The birth of Archie, the firstborn son of Prince Harry and Meghan, had opened up new dynamics, ones that many felt would be handled behind the closed doors of the palace. But it became clear that this wasn't going to be a simple royal addition, not one where traditions were followed without question. From the moment Archie came into the world, the system began to crack. The rigid structure of centuries-old rules strained under the weight of modernity and personal choices. Archie's birth, rather than being met with the usual fanfare of royal announcements and joy, became a moment of quiet scrutiny. And it wasn't just because of who his parents were, it was the way his birth was handled, the manner in which his name appeared on the official documents. Birth certificates for the royal family were not mere pieces of paper. They were sacred records, official markers of a child's identity, their place in the royal lineage. But when that record was altered, when Meghan's full name was quietly replaced by her title, it raised questions. Who made the change? Why was it made? Was it a personal request or a palace directive? This simple act of altering a name, of taking away the legal identity Meghan Markle had carried for years, opened a Pandora's box. It was a break in tradition, a departure from the meticulously recorded births of all previous royal children. The royal family's silent watch began, as each of these events unfolded under their careful eyes. And what followed was more than just a royal birth. It was the beginning of a fundamental shift in the relationship between the Sussexes and the crown. In the years that followed, the pressure mounted. Meghan and Harry, in an attempt to forge their own path, left behind the official duties that had long been expected of them. They distanced themselves from the royal family, carving out a space in the world for their family, one where they were free to speak, to act, to create their own narrative. But the world didn't quite let them leave quietly. Instead, their every move became fodder for public consumption, scrutinized and analyzed by those both inside and outside the palace walls. And then came Lilibet. The birth of their second child was different in every way. From the very beginning, there was no announcement from Buckingham Palace, no grand photograph released to the world, no formal confirmation from the royal doctors who had always been present at these pivotal moments in the family's history. Instead, Lilibet's arrival was quietly announced via a cheerful statement from California, a modern, casual release, devoid of the usual royal grandeur. No royal seal, no palace confirmation, no public acknowledgement from the royal family. To the public, it seemed like just another baby born to the Sussexes. But behind the palace walls, this was seen as a significant departure from the royal norm. But the story doesn't end with Archie and Lilibet being denied their royal titles. No, the real drama begins behind closed doors, where emotions run high and decisions are made that affect not just the lives of two children, but the future of an entire monarchy. As Harry and Meghan struggle to protect their children's place in history, the royal family moves in silence, ensuring that their legacy is secured no matter the personal cost. What led to the ultimate breaking point for the Sussexes? Keep watching, because the untold details are about to be revealed. For over 100 years, the royal family had adhered to a pattern of behavior when it came to royal births. It was a ritual, a tradition, one that had been followed with precision, where every aspect was noted: who delivered the child, where it happened, who signed off on it. These were not just formalities, they were the foundation upon which royal identity was built. Each child born into the royal family was tethered to the institution by these rituals. They were not merely born, they were claimed. The crown did not just acknowledge them, it absorbed them into its legacy, making them part of a lineage that stretched back centuries. But with Lilibet's birth, this connection was fractured. The absence of the royal seal, the lack of the official acknowledgement, left a gap in the history. Lilibet's arrival wasn't part of the royal narrative. It was as though the child had been born into another story altogether, one that didn't follow the established rules, that wasn't recorded in the archives of Buckingham Palace. For those watching from inside the palace, this was the moment the lines between the royal family and the Sussexes were irrevocably drawn. And yet, even with this growing rift, the palace remained silent. They watched, not reacting. But they were not passive. They knew the significance of this silence. They knew that sometimes silence could speak louder than any words. The palace, in its silence, was doing what it had always done. It was waiting for the moment when the weight of history, the unyielding force of tradition, would carry the message forward. Waiting for the moment when the royal family's rulebook would speak louder than anything Meghan or Harry could say in public. By the time Lilibet was born, the palace had already made its decision. The rules had been set in stone for over 100 years, and though the world around the royal family had shifted, those rules remained the same. The failure to follow them wasn't just an oversight, it was an active choice, a break in the chain. And the palace knew that such a break, if left unaddressed, would set a dangerous precedent for future generations. But what followed next was even more telling. In a desperate attempt to reclaim some semblance of connection to the royal family, Harry did something unexpected. He reached out, not with the formality one might expect from a prince, but with raw emotion. He made late-night calls to the very institution he had distanced himself from. He begged the palace to reconsider, to allow Archie and Lilibet to be written into the royal record. He pleaded with them to recognize his children as part of the royal family, to honor the bloodline he believed they were entitled to. These were not the calls of a prince seeking fame or fortune. These were calls made out of love, out of a desire to protect his children's place in history. But every time Harry reached out, he was met with the same cold response. This wasn't about emotion. This was about order, about family lines, about legacy. For Harry, this was the breaking point. He realized in that moment that he wasn't just a prince who had stepped away from royal duties. He had become the prince whose children were being erased from royal history. So, what does this silence really mean for the future of the royal family? Will Harry and Meghan ever reclaim their place in the royal narrative? Or has the palace's decision closed the door forever? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below. Do you think the royal family made the right decision? Or do you feel that the Sussex children should have been embraced as part of the legacy? Don't forget to hit that like button if you found this video insightful, and be sure to subscribe for more exclusive updates on royal news and stories. Thanks for watching.